I'm Nicole Marganti. I am a psychologist. I work at the Grand Valley State University Counseling Center. So we're located in the Student Services Building in 204, which is the second floor here in Allendale. We also have an office downtown on the Pew campus in the DeVos building. We're housed within the Career Center. So we typically see students there Monday through Thursday, and here in Allendale, we're there Monday through Friday until about 5 o'clock. So we see students at the Counseling Center for a variety of reasons. Some students will come in to talk with us because they're feeling overwhelmed with balancing school and their sport, relationships. Sometimes they work and they try and have hobbies or other interests outside of that as well. So that's a lot that they can have on their plate, and they may experience some reactions from that, feeling overwhelmed or not being able to sleep. Other times students will come see us for different reasons. They're just not feeling like themselves, or they may recognize symptoms of depression or anxiety. So we see students for all of those things. We also work with students if they are struggling with substance use issues or career concerns. So the Counseling Center is also affiliated with the ACEs office, which is Alcohol Campus Education Services, as well as our Career Center. So a lot of career development, exploring a major, things like that. If a student wants to set up services with the Counseling Center, if they're curious about what that's about, or they have some questions about what services could look like, they can do a couple of things. They can start by either calling the Counseling Center or just dropping by to schedule an appointment. We typically will see a student for the first time for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, where we'll have some time where the student can kind of tell us what's been going on, talk a little bit about what brought them in for services, what their concerns are. Then we're going to ask some really specific questions about symptoms they may or may not have been experiencing. And this is just so we can get a good idea about what the situation fully is. From there, we'll kind of determine what the best course of action is for that student and ask the student what they really want and need from us. Counseling can look different for every student. We do a lot of individual, so one-on-one counseling. We do operate from a short-term model for individual counseling. And then we have a variety of unlimited group therapies. So some of our groups might be how to manage your depression, and they're really skills-based, maybe 4 weeks in a row, we come in for a workshop about depression. Other groups we have are more general process groups, where you sit with a group of maybe 6 or 8 other students and a couple of therapists and talk about just struggles you're having in day-to-day life, maybe depression or anxiety, issues with family, roommates, things like that. We do have some identity groups and some specific issue groups like body image or self-compassion. You can check out our website. We always have an updated list before the semester starts of what kind of groups we're going to be offering. And again, those are unlimited for students. Everything you talk about with a counselor at the Counseling Center is going to be confidential, with the exception of 1 or 2 really specific things, and we're always going to have a conversation with a student about that before we ever break confidentiality. We welcome questions or concerns about that as well. So if a student wonders, is my coach going to hear about this, or my parent, we can really have that conversation and be a really safe space for students to talk about things. We welcome questions. So if a student has a question they want to know about therapy, what that might be like for them, or how does this fit into my schedule, we can answer those questions over the phone. You can just call and ask to consult with a therapist. Are there other things that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, I know sometimes there's a stigma with going to see a counselor, going to see a therapist. What would you say to a student who maybe thinks about it but doesn't want to either admit to themselves or admit to others that they have something going on?
Mm-hmm. So it can be really tricky if you feel like you're nervous that other people might find out you're going to counseling, that this could create some sort of stigma, or that maybe someone finds out and they maybe want to interfere in your personal life and you're a private person. It can be really tough for students. I think the main thing to be aware of is that people come to counseling for so many different reasons. And it's important to recognize that your personal, emotional health is a huge part of your identity and who you are, and just as important as your physical health. So things like depression or anxiety can affect you in a lot of ways. They're going to impact sleep, they're going to impact your relationships, they're just going to impact your confidence as a whole, and that's going to play out in every aspect of your life. So while it can be anxiety-provoking to walk through those doors and come into the Counseling Center, we try and be as private as possible to respect students' requests and their needs. But it's also important to recognize that mental health affects everybody. Everyone has problems in their life, everyone struggles at some point, and seeking help for that is a way to manage and take care of yourself rather than putting it off and worrying about it later.
What if a friend or a teammate needs help? How do you advise them, and how do you go about making sure or helping the best you can to get them the help they need?
Sure. It's really common that we have friends or teammates, roommates, classmates who might express something that we're worried about and we think they need help at the counseling center or with someone else on campus. I think the first thing to do is maybe have an open, honest conversation with that person. Express to somebody that you're worried about them and that you think that they might want to talk with somebody who knows a little bit more about that area. Give them some resources. Talk with them about locating the counseling center. Maybe walk over there with them. Check out what's available. Maybe even talk with a counselor on the phone if you need some advice about talking to your teammate or your roommate about that. But really just instilling some of that hope, letting people know there are others out there who can help them and that you're supportive and there for them. Respecting other people's wishes. If they don't want to tell you about everything that's going on, that's okay. If you're really worried about someone and they won't go seek help, or you're not sure that they're really doing that, or you're afraid to talk with them, I would definitely recommend talking with somebody else who can help you out. Talking with a counselor, talking with a coach or an assistant coach, talking with a student ombuds tequila here on campus, visiting with an advisor, a professor, someone who you can trust to kind of get some additional support from. And if there's ever an emergency situation where you're worried about someone's safety, calling the Grand Valley Police and consulting with them about next steps would probably be the safest step you can take. So occasionally a student might come in and start working with a counselor, and just like they find the benefit of being on a team for their sport, they might feel like their health also deserves kind of a team approach. So counselors and therapists at the counseling center, we welcome that idea. So if a student wants us to talk with their parent, or they want to have a coach involved or a trainer involved in their care, we're definitely on board. A student can request to sign what's called a release of information, and that will allow the therapist to talk with their physician, talk with their coach, and talk with their trainer. We try and keep things pretty private, so we don't share a whole lot of details unless we feel like something's really necessary, but we're definitely open to having lines of communication in order to have that team approach to care. A lot of students enjoy that. They want to know that their therapist and their doctor are on the same page without having to be the go-between all the time. If a student does not want that to happen and they do want things to remain private or confidential, there are different layers and levels we can do that at as well. It's completely acceptable for a student to request that maybe a coach or a trainer know that they made an appointment and attended one, but not want that personal information disclosed, and that's okay too. Some students find it difficult to seek therapy at the place where they go to school. They like to kind of keep health and school a little bit separate, and we can respect that. Our website has a whole list of what's called community providers, so therapists and clinicians, doctors in the community who we know, who we refer students to, where they can seek therapy for a variety of different reasons, but they're not affiliated with Grand Valley. So they can find that on our website, therapists that are in Allendale or downtown. Thanks for listening.